Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on Wacky Raceland, issue number 1. Now, as you know, Wacky Raceland is meant to be a darker, grittier, and more darker take on the old classic cartoon show Wacky Racers. And much like the Jetsons, Flintstones, as well as Scooby-Doo and that, had gotten darker, more serious adaptations. And the best way I would sum up Wacky Raceland is like saying, what if we took Wacky Racers and mixed Mad Max with it? And the cover mainly has, Penelope Pitstop in her more darker, grittier outfit. So let's get on with the story. It starts off how in a place called the Armageddon Bar, we see how these sort of racers cars are talking about everything that's been going on in that, and we see how Dick Dastardly's car is complaining that he keeps losing and everything else on a regular basis. And we even see how, even Dick Dastardly's car does get annoyed, saying, "Oh, sure as hell don't have to take crap from a damn 8-leg lizard." And we even see how at the bar characters like Lazy Luke and all that are kind of complaining with the owner for being disrespectful towards Muttley and the others. And this is where all hell breaks loose in the Armageddon Bar. And this is where we see the darker, grittier takes on Penelope, the Anthill Mob, as well as Peter Perfect and that. And you even do see a more darker take on Dick Dastardly, who looks more like Captain Jack Sparrow, saying, "Damn it, Muttley, let's try to finish this quickly. I really wanted to take a break and attempt to forget today's disappointment of a race." And we see how, in this continuity, all the characters are meant to be like these Mad Max fight versions, like the Red Baron, Sergeant Blast, Private Meekly, also Professor Pat Pending and all that. And we see how even moments before the flood, we see how Penelope, before she became the way she was, got lost in the flood. We see the announcer, who's meant to be the comic book version of AIA technology, promises a series of races where the winner will basically get to go to the last land that hasn't been destroyed. And we see how in the Uber Pass, where Dick Dastardly says, "Speed up the pace, Muttley. That rocket's sure to attract a clutch of centipedes, which is the point, but we don't want to be anywhere near this place when they arrive." And much like the show's version, Dick Dastardly in this continuity still uses every questionable methods to still win. And we see how Peter Perfect sees that basically Penelope's gotten trapped under the sort of trap and has to deal with the giant sort of sand-like centipedes. And back at the bar, we see how everyone is, still duking it out, still taking on each other. And we see how back at the race, like, everyone is duking it out. We kind of see how the Red Baron is meant to be a racist Nazi bigot. And we see how, one of the racers call him out on it. And we even see how Lazy Luke and Blubber Bear still try to kind of call him out on their behaviour. And we see how Peter Perfect tries to save Penelope Pitstop like he always did in the cartoons. And we even see him saying, "I guess I should have looked first. You're such an idiot." And we even see how, they even try to kind of avoid getting eaten alive. And pretty much ends up killing off the centipedes. And we kind of see how Penelope's got an idea. And even back at the bar now, we kind of see how everyone is still duking it out. The characters still being darker, grittier versions of their original counterparts. And we kind of see him saying, "This is it, Muttley. Finish line so close I can taste it. Who the hell's shooting at us?" And we kind of see how, Dick Dastardly uses the same methods that he's done before. And we kind of see how, as he's close to winning, Penelope shows up in a Mad Max style, and yeah, Dick Dastardly saying, "Oh hell, haha, I rock." And we see after this, Dick Dastardly calls out Penelope, but of course gets sucker punched, and even says, "Ow, I hate your stupid goggles. Looks like there's a bar down the road. I need to kill some brain cells, or I'm gonna wake up screaming from centipede nightmares. And that's why I drink. Race, you guys. Loses by the hook." And yeah, the announcement comes that another race is coming, and we see how Penelope, Peter Perfect, and everyone gets ready for the next race, and ending the story there and there. I think the story is interesting because it is literally changing the concept of a more cartoony race, going with a darker, grittier, and more kind of darker take on the Wacky Racers formula, but mixing it with a darker take on a Mad Max-like concept. It's interesting, it's fun, and definitely is trying to move away from being too kid-friendly. So it definitely deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still readable. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.